and so forth on the bottom, and they could fit. Just you could tighten them up real good, and.
Well, how many people do you think were sort of casualties of ski training?
Oh, not too many, because we try probably one out of 50 probably.
And what would happen to them?
Well, they'd get sprains, and a sprain was worse than anything. They'd twist and get hurt, so that every time they go out, they could feel it. So then we put them on snowshoes.
How do people feel about being sort of sidelined?
On snowshoes?
Or in general, not being in action, in the thick of it.
Well, there was a good bunch in the snowshoe, because they had mules, and they had mules to take care of, and so once the mules kind of took their attention.
But if people were injured, did you find it that was sort of depressing for them? They don't want to be sidelined?
No, they know if they, usually the ones that got injured didn't mind going to the snowshoe, because they know that what we did was pretty strenuous, and if we went high up in the mountain and skied down over cornices and stuff like that, that they'd fall and injure themselves more. But the dogs and the snowshoe battalion was a very nice unit, and a lot of good guys in there.
Talk a little bit about what was some of the hardest things you did in training.
The most difficult things. Well, rock climbing was. I don't.
How about maneuvers?
Yeah, maneuvers. Yeah, we had that. Yeah, getting up in the morning, or when it's icy cold, and your boots, you have to. If you take your boots off at night, they're just solid when you wake up, because they were damp in the afternoon. Just getting dressed and then trying to get your 2 pair of wool socks on, and then get that in the boots, and then you have your long underwear, and then getting out of the tent, and sometimes it was wetter in the tent than outside, because your breathing just made frost all on the inside of the tent, and then every time you moved, the frost would drop, so we had to shake our tents out every day. And that was some of the, just getting up in the morning at 30 below zero and getting in your boots. Oh, I didn't, you just knew you had to just keep going, so your mind had to, you couldn't say, oh, woe is me. You just had to just start getting ready, because you were way up in the mountains and everybody else was doing the same thing.
What's the altitude?
Oh, 11, 12,000.
So were you feeling pretty fit?
Yeah, 10 is Camp Hale, and we always went up from there.
Were you feeling pretty fit?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, we always felt fit, and we just made sure we did.
How do you get fit?
Oh, we had runs. Like, the funny thing, we'd run in the, and do exercise. We had calisthenics, they called it, every morning. And then the German prisoners would run by. We'd have maybe 2 or 3 dozen German prisoners running by. Just they were fit as can be and singing songs, German songs, up the road. And so that kind of gave me a boost. I thought, well, God, if they can do it, I can get out there and run and sing songs if they want us to sing too. But we had our calisthenics, and then we did a little run, and everyone had to be in good shape, because you had to be strong to ski, and they just kept us going. Praga knew what to do.
Prager, your
first sergeant, Walter Prager.
Tell me a little bit about Walter Prager.
Walter Prager, oh, he seemed to be easygoing, but he was a terrific skier, and he taught skiing he just had an open Christie that he did a lot, instead of the regular Alberg Christie. Because he was Swiss, and he would like to teach us. If we were doing something wrong, he'd come over and say, "Well, we got to do it this way, and this is the way you do it." And it was I couldn't say, "I want to do it this way." He would say, "No, you're going to do it this way. This is how we do it." And he would, I told you about the pie. And
was there ever any discussion about which method would be used, Arlberg versus?
no, we had an army method that we used, and I thought it was Arlberg anyway, where you'd come with your skis parallel most of the weight in the downhill ski, you'd stem the lower ski and give it weight it, and then you lift and come around into a snowplow where you're even when you get to the fall line, then all the weight goes out onto the outside ski, and then your inside ski slides in together.
Did Hans Schneider ever come and teach you guys?
No, but it was a Hans Schneider technique. Herbie Schneider was there. He was one of the guys.
So was Herbie sort of teaching his dad's technique?
Yeah. The same thing. He didn't know anything else. No, they wouldn't go for that parallel stuff for a while. But you ski fairly parallel when you're doing stem Christies anyway. After you get all the motions, and then pretty soon you don't even stem the lower ski if you get a good Alberg motion.
Talk a little bit about how close of a bond was among the men.
Oh yeah, all the skiers were skiers, and if they were snowshoers and mule skinners, they were a whole different unit. But we didn't have time to talk to the other people. We never said anything about them. We just say, well, the mule skinners are coming. They're gonna go across to Aspen with the snowshoes and mules from Homestake Mountain. I hope they pack a good trail for us. It'll be easier.
Well, were you close friends with the people in your group? Talk a little bit about how close the friendships were.
Oh yeah, we had Victor Gottschalk was a friend for a long time, just a close friend, and Billy Bowes was a very close friend, and Sepp Froelich. When anyone skied together, and skied pretty good. If they didn't ski very good, we didn't bother with them.
How do you explain this close bond friendship among you guys?
Well, we just because we skied together, and we just took care of one another, especially when it was in the mountains and cold, and we were in snow caves. We just made everyone feel good. You didn't want to argue with anybody. And so everyone was just, when things get uncomfortable, then everybody's more friendly to one another.
Oh, so you're thinking hardship breeds?
Yeah, hardship brings friendship.
Huh, interesting. When the rest of the 10th separated and they went off to fight in Italy, and you had been reassigned back up to the Aleutians, how did you feel about seeing all your close friends go one way and you go the other?
Well, most of the ones that I had been training with went to the Aleutian Islands with me. There were about 10 of them. And we knew we had a job to do. We didn't know where we were going anyway. We thought we were just going to go scouting Japanese right on the mainland, but we went up there and trained people to scout, as well as doing some scouting ourselves. But they didn't want to get us killed because we were the instructors. So I felt pretty good about that. We'd teach guys and send them off into the wild blue yonder and just hope they'd make it.
Tell me a little bit more about Paul Petzold. And he was building igloos. Did he learn igloo building from somebody famous?
Well, I think he learned by himself.
I guess I understood. Who is the Arctic explorer, Steph?
Oh yeah. Oh, and let's see. Did he know that?
I saw a picture of him building an igloo at Hale.
Yeah.
Was it Stephenson?
Yeah. And he had a daughter that I think Paul liked.
Yeah, this was a North Pole guy, right? And he
Yeah.
came and taught igloo building?
Yeah,
I thought maybe
he taught it
for-
there.
Yeah.
And I might have been in on that. I'm not sure. I think I was.
What did Paul teach you?
Oh, he taught. See, I was a lot younger than Paul, and we were together in the Army, and he just taught me how to, just get along in the. He talked about being warm, keeping comfortable, and not getting wet, and things like that. And he seemed to know about everything. And so I just listened to him. And Horace Quick was the same way. He's the fellow that you saw right there. That he passed away recently.
Did you have any notion that Paul was going to go on to be such a significant figure in the outdoor industry?
Yeah. He already was, I thought. And he was in there not as a soldier, but he came to teach people in the mountain training group, in the MTG. And he did, and I was lucky enough to be with him most of the time.
Okay. Can you pause for 1 second? Sure.
Let me think. Oh, let's see. I don't know too much about it. I know we went in there. From Homestake. We went from Homestake to Aspen. You mean? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, it was our lieutenant and all the brass. They just wanted to see what would happen, so they used us as guinea pigs. And so we knew we could do it, Kenny and all of us, and because we were skiers and had our climbers and all. So we started off in a group of, what did I say, 25 to 50 people, and we had to we stop some areas and do a snow slide training, because and explain that if you cut through with a group and cut the bottom of a slope off, if you're up even a quarter of the way, you'll have tons of snow coming down on you. So we had to know where to go, and we had some avalanche experts. Bill Klein was another one. I'm just thinking. Bill Klein from California, and he knew a lot and he was a good skier. And everyone had to be a skier to do it, because we had a lot of downhill. So we went from there, climbed. We'd climb up and then go down into a nice low place, but nothing that would be avalanche, so that we could build either a snow cave or dig down into a pit and make a nice deep pit, maybe 5 feet deep, and pitch a tent in it. So that the tent, and then of course if we had a big wind, down there get covered up in the night with the blowing snow, but it was comfortable. We had the regular mountain tent, 2-man mountain tent. And then we'd get up and shake off and pack up, shake all the snow off, and we're better to be cold than to be wet. I mean, all of our equipment made sure we didn't get anything wet. And then we had primer stoves and made hot drinks and soup, and usually we'd just have a nice little snow bench to put the primer stove on and cook on that. And then when we get ready to go 9 o'clock in the morning, it'd be a good time, and we'd have time to get everything all packed and together for 20 guys, getting all their rucksacks and everything together, and their socks and shoes and all, because we'd had Mickey Mouse boots. Mickey Mouse boots were a felt boot that you wore when you quit skiing, when you for working. That'd be one of the first things you'd do, is put on your boot and 2 pair of dry socks, so that you'd be very comfortable on the feet, because if your feet get cool, you start cooling off all over, that and your head. So we keep those warm. And then we'd start again the next day and go for another 20 miles or whatever. We'd climb up, and we'd cut steps in some places if we had, and with our skis over our shoulders, we'd cut steps and come back down, get our skis, go up to the top, get everyone down, and then we'd ski down this long, maybe 8 or 9 miles of downhill, which was real fun. And if someone fell, we didn't like that. We'd have to pick them up, and if I fell, I didn't like it either. And everyone fell once in a while, when you hit breakable crust or something. But we didn't go fast. It'd go nice. And in places, if you're coming down the hillside and you see a nice slope with all powder, that north facing or something, and it was nice and soft, and a few guys would just make a few turns, and I'd go down with them.
What were some of the worst conditions that you were in during training?
Well, that would be in the Aleutian Islands mostly. It'd be wet.
And how about at Hale?
At Hale, just sloppy snow. Yeah, if you go out and you get a thaw, that would be pretty bad condition. And then it freezes up, and then you're breaking through.
Can you think of what were the worst conditions or the worst experiences in training? Does one stand out?
No, I can't think of any worse conditions. It was all,
Or experience, any particular experience that was particularly difficult?
No, we did everything we were supposed to do, and we had good training, and the training kept us from getting into any troubles. And I don't remember any troubles that I got into, and none of people that I was with, they were all pretty good skiers anyway, and knew how to handle themselves. So we didn't have any broken bones or anything like that.
Tell me a little bit about Bud Winter.
Bud Winter, yeah, he and I were friends. In fact, he gave me a hunting knife, and Bud Winter and I did some testing of tracked vehicles. That's where we had the most fun. There were different types of tracked vehicles. Some were like a motorcycle with tracks, that wide for going over and so he and I were just the only ones in charge of them. And it was just fun being with him. He liked adventure, and I can picture him now, but sitting in the Weasel. We had the Weasels, the M29Cs, the amphibious Weasels, and we also had just the M29. And so Bud and I, they had us experimenting with these. They said, take them out and break them, they told us. And so we took them out and tried to break them, and they broke us. We just went over all kinds of things, but we had to be careful not to roll it upside down, because it was just a canvas and pipe top. And we'd go around. We'd even get stuck in some creek beds, with water running underneath and the snow all over the place. We'd get stuck, and then one of us would have to pull the other one out. And then we'd go. They said, take them till they just fall apart. And we fell apart first. Those Weasels, the M29s, were just really solid. And when we gave the report on them, they were happy as can be. And then they sent them to Aleutian Islands and all over after we tried to wreck them.
Tell me a little bit about what Bud's psychological approach was to everything.
Oh, he was just like me. He'd suggest something and I'd do it. with him, and I'd suggest something. He was just great, and we just had a lot of fun together. He was just happy, and just thinking of something else to do that would be adventurous.
Now, how did your time in the 10th prepare you for Outward Bound?
Yeah, well, all the everything I did in the 10th Mountain, all the teaching and all, they just asked me about Outward Bound, and I thought just the same. I just do it. But then, of course, that's when I went to England. They straightened me up and had me do the way Outward Bound should be done. I would have been doing it like the 10th Mountain training.
Well, can you describe what Outward Bound is?
Outward Bound, let's see, I've said this hundreds of times. I got to take a minute. I was kind of off on other thoughts. It'll take a minute for me to, yeah, oh geez. I need to.
No, pause for a sec?
Yeah, I'll say it again, yeah. To improve one's capacity to do things and the way they think. That I had a way of saying that a long time ago, and people used to ask me.
Well, what's Outward Bound all about? How about that?
Well, they're to so that you have a better feeling about yourself, and so that you can, if you have so that you can do things. We used to bring them right to their limit, but not over their limit so that they get discouraged. You just go to the limit of each person so that they feel good about themselves. And that's how Outward Bound, that's how we used to run it. Let me try to think of something else, another way of putting it.
If you were going to finish this sentence for me, Outward Bound, fill in the blank.
Yeah, Outward Bound was, okay. I know this.
Or how about the goal of Outward Bound was?
Yeah, they used to have a little saying to make men out of people that went. No, we don't want that.
People who were mice. Yeah, how about if I get a brochure? Oh yeah, yeah. Can we take a pause? Yeah.
Yeah, get rid of the pipe.
Dave, everything okay?
I'm good for sound.
Okay.
Can you?
Yeah, we're running.
Good. Tell me a little bit about how the 10th Mountain experience prepared you for Outward Bound.
Well, with the 10th Mountain, when we first got in there, we had all this rigorous training, and then we started this camping, just regular Army stuff, and then the restrictions that you had and how you had to confirm to,
Sorry? Oh, yeah. Okay.
and then how you had to just do things right, or it would be dangerous. So I had to make sure that there was no danger to the students in Outward Bound, and the Army did the same thing, unless we were in combat or something. But so we were always careful of how we trained, especially rock climbing and hiking. We had rules for everything, but I always told them that the rules were for fools, and they just do what comes natural to keep yourself for preservation.
Oh, so you mean, I'm sorry, I noticed this.
Explain what Outward Bound is for somebody who doesn't know what Outward Bound is.
Yeah, just wait just a second. You'll let me get the proper. You're not filming now, right? Let's just wait a second.
Yeah, here's the mission. Are you on?
Yeah, that's okay. We'll see what comes out in English. Do you want to look at the mission statement?
No, no, that's all right. Well, I'm kind of getting lost for words here, but I know exactly what I want to say. But
Hey,
wait a second. Let me get something in my head.
On a
Then.
cue card?
No, I'm getting too much cue cards.
too much information.
Yeah. I had a. Just wait a second here. They have confidence in themselves. I can't quite put that together right this minute, and I should because I've said it a dozen times. We just try to build up confidence in the kids, have confidence in themselves. I can't quite think right now. Just a
Well,
second.
if I sign up for Outward Bound, what happens to me? How about that?
All right, saying you'll have a better version of yourself by the time you go through the courses.
And what's going to happen to me in the course?
Well, what will happen? You will be testing yourself on different aspects. Like you'd come in and we would have a rope course where you would be challenged. You're to be challenged. There'd be a rope course, and then you would have hikes and do a run and different things like that would test your not your skills, but just
Are you testing it? You're trying to find people's limits?
yeah. That's right. You know all the.
No,
all
I'm
the
trying to get you to say it.
you,
I already know, but I
yeah,
want to say it.
yeah. You're just testing everyone's limits, as you say. Geez, I knew that. I've said it 100 times. And
How do you think Outward Bound? Can you start a sentence with the word Outward Bound? How do you think Outward Bound tested people's limits?
by bringing each one to their own capabilities.
And can you start a sentence with the words Outward Bound?
Outward Bound tests each person until they come to their own capabilities I guess. I'm getting so I can't talk.
So funny. Well, how does that remind you of the 10th?
10th Mountain. Well, we were pushed there to our limits many times, and that's what I did with Outward Bound when I came back, and they asked me to be the first chief instructor. Charles Frelica and John Holden and some other English people came and
So that was
made sure I was a.
That was a pretty natural progression for you then.
Yeah, because I'd already been doing it in the 10th Mountain, and that's why they asked me to be the first chief instructor. And so I started thinking of things that would bring them to their limits, and then so they decided to send me to England, and I spent several months in England at Eskdale and Abu Dhabi, learning the Outward Bound ways of doing things, getting up in the morning and going for a run and diving in ice water, and I had to do all that, and I thought it was pretty cool as long as I could do it with somebody else. And so all the Limeys, they call themselves Limeys too, the English kids. they said, we'll teach you, how you're supposed to do things. And so they gave me the works. Then they had a run. And so when I got over here, I made it into a 6 mile run, or marathon. So they had to do that. As well as the rope course. We made everything starting from the hand and foot traverse, and then a ladder up to the Burma Bridge, and then the Burma Bridge, and then down the hand and the slide down to a log that I invented. I called it the whimsy, because they called it like that. Make it English. So the log with 2 chains between 2 trees. They had to walk across it and fall down if they didn't make it. And then from there, just different problems for a rope course that had a lot of things in it. From the height till we could scare them to death, till they slide down, and then to their balance and things like that. But they were always on belay. If they fell off the Burma Bridge, which was about 40 feet in the air in the aspens, they'd feel scared, but when they fall, we had them on belay. There was always someone that would have them on a belay that we had an upper rope with a carabiner on the rope, and as they walked across.
What's your gut feeling about how much impact Outward Bound has had on the outdoor industry?
Oh, they had. I would say the impact would be anybody that's gone to Outward Bound, and there's been thousands, and that had made thousands of more people that enjoyed the out of doors. They didn't just, they knew they had it rough with Outward Bound, but when they go out, they could just be comfortable. They'd know about building fires, for instance, and they'd know about how to keep warm before they headed off into a storm. They knew that they could go out into a storm if they had to, and they know enough to hold up and wait till the storm is over, too. But I had a little different approach to some of the Outward Bound stuff in England. They'd force the people to be uncomfortable, and I always showed our guys how to be more comfortable in the out of doors. But
would you say that Outward Bound is a real role model for other adventure?
Yeah, you can learn a lot. You learn a lot about yourself, and you'll learn when you've reached your limit, and when to quit, kind of slow down, because you can also push yourself till you're in a dangerous position.
Did you ever think that, would you say now that Outward Bound is a real model for outdoor programs?
Sure. Yeah, Outward Bound is good. Everyone should get an Outward Bound experience. And then if they do an Outward Bound experience and then go to National Outdoor Leadership School, that's even better. Then, see, you test yourself and put yourself in situations where you're uncomfortable with Outward Bound, and in testing yourself, and then when you go to Knowles, you know how to take care of yourself and the other people that you're with, so that they don't get in trouble, get hypothermia, or do things where they might get hurt or drowned when they're diving in a pond, and they learn how to take care of themselves in the water or in a stream, in a fast stream, what to do to get to shore, and how to walk across a stream, and how to find the best spots to cross a stream, for instance, and how to read the waters. Where it's slow and deep, that's the worst spot, but where it looks like rapids, that would be the best spot. So you go up and you see where it would end up on the other side, where the water is real fast and ripply. You can cross, that's why the best places to cross. And what to wear when you cross there. You don't take off your shoes, and you could wear tennis shoes, but you can take off your boots if you don't want them to get wet and soggy, and put on tennis shoes to walk across. And then you have a special way you cross. You can take hands on a swift stream, and you can take hands and face upstream with your legs wide apart and just work your way across till everyone's over.
What's your own personal philosophy about existing out in the wilds with nature?
Just live with it. You just live with whatever comes up. If you get a big wind, you get out of the wind, and if it rains, you take protection with your poncho or all, and don't fight it. You live with it.
How much risk assessment kind of factors into every outdoor experience for you personally?
I don't take any risk unless a lightning bolt comes down. You don't lean against a tree when there's a lightning storm, and you check, and you can tell when a lightning storm is coming. If you hear the thunder, you can count to 10. Every time you count to 10, that's a mile away. 10 seconds. The noise. Saying you see a flash and a dark cloud, and you see the flash of the lightning, then you start counting 1. So every 10 seconds, it's 1 mile away. If you count to 20, you're 2 miles away before the storm will get to you.
Can you think of any other thing that from your 10th Mountain experience that you still carry with you today, that's still part of who you are today?
With the 10th Mountain?
Mm-hmm.
Well, of course, there was so much skiing and rock climbing. The rock climbing, that's where I learned most of that, from Italian rock climbers, to protect for the protection that you give other people, and precautions for yourself while you're in the mountains, and walking, even walking through steep areas where you might loosen a rock. You try not to loosen it. You step on a rock. If you step on a rock, you don't step on the downhill side of it. You step right in the middle or on the hillside of it, because that's when you could step on the outside of it and it would tip and roll you. And walking through streams is another thing, so that with your legs apart so the water can go through, facing upstream. And cut a stick if you don't have anybody with you. You should never go with less than 3 persons in the mountains. Saying you cut yourself, say you burn yourself bad, or say you sprained your ankle or broke a leg. 1 person would go for help, but 1 person has to stay with you. And you have to know your compass and know your maps. You got to know where you are at all times.
How does your 10th Mountain experience affect who you are today?
Well, with the men that were in it, they were a lot of them were older than I, and as we went through our training, and in the field and in the Aleutian Islands, they were all people I looked up to. So I more or less it got to be a pattern to follow their patterns of things they did, from camping and taking care of yourself, and generally just how you think of other people. You got to consider everybody else as well as yourself when you're out.
Now tell me what your role was in the 10th in terms of being a scout.
Well, as a scout in the Aleutian Islands, my role was I had a dog too, called Mike. I got a picture of him here. and we just went out and looking in bays. It was a North Pacific combat school, and we taught people, but we also went out and just, if our Colonel Forrest heard that there was someone, that maybe some Japanese were on the island, he might have done it just for the training and told us that they were. But I'd go out, usually, I don't do it here, but I'd go out, they'd send me out alone and just going out, and then if there was a big rock, and just scout and see if there was any boats or rubber rafts or anything along the coastline where they could have come in. And this was in 42, 41, when the Japanese were active up in there. They chased them out. And then I'd go up, if there was a big rock, I'd just go like that, and my dog would go out, and if he didn't get shot, I'd go walking past that rock, and then just looking to see if anyone was there. That was one of the things. And then I'd get back to Shagak Bay and report in, and because we had a big ammunition depot at Shagak Bay, in tents, lots of ammunition that could use for mortars and dynamite and stuff like that. All the shells for the 37 millimeter